What is up? It's 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means another episode of Home Theater Fanatics Live. Tonight is episode 121, and we have a great episode for you. Today, we've got Jonathan and Kevin Couch from Heavenly Soundworks with me. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Howdy.
Good evening.
Awesome. So I met you guys last week, I guess it was, at the Home Entertainment Show in Long Beach, California.
The show.
And, the show. And it was great. And, you know, I was extremely impressed with your demo and room and your little tiny pair of humongous bookshelf speakers that you got behind you right there. I think they were one of the show stealers. In fact, I think a lot of people came out of your room with their eyes kind of big saying, maybe I've been doing it wrong. At least that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, maybe we can get started and you guys can introduce yourself to everybody.
Great. Yeah. Well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And good to see you again. It was nice to actually get out and see people face to face, which was
very
awesome.
nice. Very nice.
But yeah, I'm Jonathan Couch, one half of the founders here of Heavenly Soundworks.
And I'm Kevin Couch. And it was great seeing you there. And you were just a very pleasant person to work with. And
you see, I keep telling people that. I'm like, come on, everybody, I'm pleasant. They're like, not really. No, I'm like, really, really pleasant.
Running the hallways.
Yeah. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot, but you guys were like 2 or 3 doors down from my actual sleeping room. So, I got to wake up to the music and go to sleep to the music that they were playing in the hall. So it's kind of funny. And I guess for the folks that don't know, last week was the Home Entertainment Show 2021, which is, I think, the first hi-fi show in the United States to make it since the time of Troubles. So, the world's opening back up, and it's really cool to be able to start going to shows again and seeing equipment. And then for you guys, though, this one marked a milestone for you, right?
Yeah. First show for us to exhibit at. We've been to a lot of shows just on the other side as fans of hi-fi and of music. But this was the first chance we got to be on the other side and be exhibiting. We would have planned to do it last year, but you know how that went. And actually it ended up being a blessing for us because of that extra time of being able to fine tune everything to the state that we're at now.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it sounds good now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that was, obviously 12 more months of being able to fine tune and tweak and get things dialed in. So,
cool.
So we're grateful for that. And
get more reviews. And we got to go to the CRC.
The NRC?
The NRC. Sorry.
Yeah.
National Research Council in Canada. Yep. And get into their anechoic chamber.
That's super cool.
That's really awesome. That was a benefit. So
that's cool. So let's talk a little bit about the company, right? And what you guys are doing. So maybe one of you can tell us a little bit about Heavenly Soundworks and what's the idea there and your goals and then we can jump into product lines and stuff like that after that.
Sure. I'll start. You can correct me if you have a differing opinion.
Okay.
But we started this a little over 3 years ago. And when I say we started thinking of this as an actual business 3 years ago. This has been something we've been into for a really long time. But more, like I said, as fans and as music lovers, as far back as I can remember, listening to music. So it's something that we both share. And we dabbled in that for a long time, just building speakers and kind of more DIY. But about 3 years ago was when we decided that we wanted to try and actually come up with something that, what's the best thing that we could make and see if, we could take that to market. And at that time we would have never guessed it would have been an active speaker. We had never done anything active before that. It was all, standard passive speakers with passive crossovers and, with, external amplifiers and all the other equipment.
Yeah.
But really the goal at the beginning was we wanted to make the best possible loudspeaker we could. And it didn't take us very long to realize that making an active speaker was the best way to fulfill that mission. So
that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Go ahead, Kevin.
Now that we've done it, we feel like that's the only way really to get to the level that we're at is active.
Right on. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. Right on. So at this point, I'm going to share up your webpage here so people can get a big picture view of what we've got going on here. And at least I'm going to try to anyway. Let's go to a Chrome tab and hey, there we go. All right. So is that coming across? Yeah, that's coming across. So this is the speaker, right? So let me go to the product page here, maybe. Yeah, the 517, and this is the guy.
Yep.
This is the one. Oh, what is that? The 1010.
Yeah, the 517 is the one that is available now.
Okay, right on.
And just like we had no idea we'd be doing active speakers 3 years ago, we wouldn't have told you we'd come out with a bookshelf as our first product either. We were after best possible experience, basically, right? We're into the music. That's what we're after, and reproducing that in our listening space the way it was intended to be heard. And so we had built a lot of floor standers, really, and then just through testing and prototyping, which you can see in the background of Dad's video there, lots of building speakers and modeling them on the computer beforehand, and just the whole process. Basically, we came up with this small package that performs like it does, and we thought there's no way we can't come out with this. So we quickly switched gears to focus on that one first. With some of those other ones, we're really close behind it, and actually, the sneak peek here of something we haven't even shown to the public and isn't on our website yet. The next model that will be available after the 517 is a much bigger version of it.
And a lot bigger version. I mean, we can only see about half of it, but it's
a lot bigger.
It keeps going. One,
keeps
2,
going.
3, 4, 6 active drivers and 4 passives. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Yep. So
7 active drivers, including the tweeter, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Yeah. So tweeter, 2 mid-range, and 4 woofers on the front, all drivers, and then 4 passive radiators, 2 on each side, and it's all completely active. So it's same idea as what we have packed into the really small stand mount 517.
It's just basically built for a larger room.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Can be up to a much larger room.
I'm curious. Could you take 3 of the floor standers and 2 of the bookshelves and run that as a 5-channel multi-channel home theater or media room environment?
Now you're talking.
Yeah, I think that's something that needs to be done. I think somebody out there that's watching right now needs to give that a spin and tell us how it goes. When are the new towers going to be available? When are you going to look at doing that?
That's a good question. So they look pretty right now. They're not perfect yet. And I guess that's a good segue into kind of a little bit of the process behind, taking
your
something
design
from
philosophy.
Taking something from on paper to meeting the performance expectations that we have. It's really a pretty iterative process. And myself and my dad, we've got a pretty interesting combination of skill sets. So my dad being more of the audio engineer, and I can remember him talking about when I was a kid and him at work on his breaks, designing speakers on paper, doing all the math because he's into that. Right.
Right.
And then myself, I'm an industrial designer. So taking all of his specs and kind of the parameters that we can work within and how do we make it into something that's beautiful and something that we can repeatably manufacture and those types of things. So it really is something that goes back and forth. And you can see that with, those prototypes behind Dad there, that really it starts off as an idea and we are speccing the best drivers that we can. We're doing all the design work on paper and on the computer and modeling it out. And once we have something that looks like on paper, this could be really cool, we build it, we test it, and start tuning. And that's one of the beauties of the active loudspeaker design, is that we're doing all the crossover and all the fine tuning that you would normally do in building a passive crossover. We're doing that in a DSP that can be changed very quickly. So we can have a microphone and the proper measurement equipment, test it, see where it's off, where it needs to be adjusted, make those adjustments, and keep going from there. So this one is really close. We've got the enclosure down. It's this one is actually 2 layers thick of 3/4 inch MDF all the way around. So it's
wow. So what is that, 1.5 inches or something?
It's 1.5 inches thick all the way around it. It's got separate enclosures inside of there for the mid-range drivers and for the amplifier and all the electronics inside of it. All that stuff has all been worked out. But taking this, because now this final version is different than that prototype. It's slightly different from some of the geometries and things. The really important things have stayed the same, of how much air volume needs to be inside of it and those types of things, the spacing of the drivers. That stuff hasn't changed, but the overall form factor has slightly, and the makeup of it, of how thick it is and where there's bracing and all of those things. So now that we have this, it goes back to him, and he's got to go through that again of measuring it, going back to the graph and seeing where do we have little peaks and little valleys that we need to smooth out.
And that's a time-consuming process.
Very meticulous.
But with the DSP, we're able to just every little thing. We can do so much more than a passive design with crossovers. It's endless. So we can make perfection.
Absolutely. Now, in the bookshelf, so that's a 3-way design, and it's what, a tweeter, a 5 1/4, and a 6 1/2, and then 2 passive radiators. Is that what is that right? I don't recall it specifically.
On the 517,
yeah, that's a 5 1/4 woofer. And what's the mid range? Is it a 3 1/2?
3 1/2. Okay, all right, that makes sense. And I put up a video somewhere of a little bit of the excursion going on. It's probably on Instagram, and people were loving that. And that's one of the really surprising things that you've been able to coax out of the speaker design, really, is the low end extension, leveraging those passive radiators. So, folks that aren't terribly familiar, passive radiators is it's a form of bass reflex design, and the form that you typically see is the ported, whether it's slot ported or they use the circular precision ports or whatever you want to call them. But the passive radiator design eliminates or overcomes a lot of the issues that you have with a normal ported philosophy. So anything high end that wants to go bass reflexes, it's almost always exclusively passive radiators. So I applaud you for that design step, and it's really, really cool, and they sound super duper awesome. But so to get things right in my head, so you've got a DSP unit that's producing 3 different outputs. So that would mean that you have to have 3 different sets of amplification in each speaker. So basically 6 channels of total amplification. Okay, that's really cool. But when I look over at the big boy over there, you're grouping those mids and those subs together, right? Or the woofers together, and you're not
with
doing
much bigger amplifiers.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. Right on.
Yeah. So what we have total wattage in the 517 is 350, and
right.
Total available in what this will be the 521 is the next model there, is 1100.
Okay, so that's a substantial amount of amplification. So if you did 5 of those around your room, you'd be pushing almost 6,000 watts, which somebody
I can see THX certification.
Yeah, you need a big room to justify that,
or a small one. I'm really good at justification. Really, really good. So let's take a second. I want to shout out a few people that have joined us. So, some of my show mainstays, Hi-Fi Havens here. So, hey, man, welcome. Glad you're here. Double A is also here. And then a new person that I don't know, but he is R restricted for adult content, apparently. So, what's up, Dope Action Big Facts? And Hi-Fi Haven says that gorgeous speakers, and he's commented on some of the Instagram coverage that I put up, and I think in general, people really like the design. And my comment there is if they like the way they look, they'll like the way they sound even better, because that's the real magic. You can have that full range experience out of a pair of bookshelves, and that's not a common thing. A lot of people designing bookshelves, they just give up on anything under 50 hertz. They're just like, and they'll be like, you don't need it. There's no music down there. And my answer to that is, there's a lot of information under there. Sure. You don't necessarily need to get down to 20 hertz or 15 hertz or something crazy like that out of a pair of bookshelves to listen to music, but there's plenty of stuff under 50, a lot,
right?
A lot. And if you're going to watch a movie on it by any chance, then you want it to go as low as it possibly can. So,
well, like I said, we didn't intend to come out with a bookshelf at the beginning. At the beginning.
So did you guys fight or something? And you're like, I want the bookshelf. No, we're going to
No. If I tried to rewind in my head, I couldn't actually tell you exactly how that ended up happening, but. But I do know that, our goal was best possible music experience. And like he said, there is music down there, and some of that stuff is really what gets you into it. It's what is like pounding your chest and, gets you into rocking to that music.
Heck yeah.
So that was our goal, was recreating that. And somehow we ended up managing to do that in this small of a package. Otherwise we wouldn't have come out with a bookshelf.
Yeah. And miraculously, we've been able to get more out of the speaker drivers than they were intentioned for, than they were designed for. So
that's amazing.
Because you can see the passive radiators on that little speaker are very large.
Yes.
You don't normally see that in comparison to the size of the woofer. And there's two. There's two of those 8-inch passives, and they have mass loaded to them to tune that. It's just phenomenally low amount of clean bass. It's just incredible.
It is outstanding.
And you'd have to have a port. You couldn't make a ported speaker that size with that woofer. The port would come out of that speaker and just be obnoxious.
It'd be a curly Q. It'd be super long.
So the passive is the only way to go, and it's just amazing what we're able to do with it.
Right on. So, speaking of the design philosophy, while we were talking a little bit before the show, you'd commented on how you design around frequency response and that kind of stuff for the speaker. Can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, what's your philosophy there?
Well,
that's all you.
I could answer, but I'm not.
Okay. We didn't realize that we wanted to go for a flat frequency response, but we found out that what that is to us is what you put in the speaker as an input music is exactly what you're going to get out with our speakers. And we felt like once we didn't realize that's what we wanted. We weren't after that in the beginning, but once we found that we could achieve that, then that's the goal. And that, because now it's like a studio monitor for your house.
Right.
Except I don't know of a studio monitor that does what ours does. It's almost ruler flat from 30 to 20,000 hertz.
That's crazy.
It's the flattest in the industry. Meaning, every studio should have our speakers in it. That's
all right, studio folks. I know you're out there. I know you're watching. You need to check these out, because when you do your mixing, these are the ones.
Yeah, that's the right.
And what we found, I think, too, is that a lot of speakers will sound good with certain genres of music, and then maybe not so good with others.
Oh, and you see this at shows all the time, because they'll be playing some smooth jazz and some classical music, and I'm like, hey, can we put on some electronica? And they're like, nope. No,
Yeah,
we don't.
and
Yeah, we don't play anything with anything under 50 hertz of information.
yeah, and what we've found is that if you can get to a flat frequency response, then it plays anything. Basically, whatever we're feeding it, that's what it's presenting. We're not trying to influence that. We're not trying to take what was on that recording and say, no, we think that it needs to be boosted here. No, if it did need to be boosted there, they would have done that in the studio. Right? We want to just experience what was intended to be experienced, and that it's tough because you hear flat frequency response and you think flat, oh, that's boring. Yeah. No, it's not. Flat means that we're making it perfect. We're presenting to you what that musician wanted you to hear. And that's really made the biggest difference. So really, whatever we throw at this, and we really tried to do that at the show. We had a playlist that was printed out of a lot of different styles of music, and we ended up actually getting a lot of comments from people of, wow, you have real music on here.
Yes,
which was
that's
cool.
What I
and
thought too.
We part of that was we wanted to show, hey, we'll play some classical music, sure, or we'll play some electronica, or we'll play some pop music or rock and roll. We had everything, and people were into different things, and it was really amazing. As my role there was kind of DJ the whole time, and it's so hard to judge when someone walks in what they're going to be into. And we'd have people from all different ages and different demographics sitting there next to each other, and it didn't matter what somebody requested. Everybody was getting into it, and somebody else would request something totally different genre, and everybody was just getting into it because they were all music lovers.
What someone was going to like or not like.
Yeah, but
I totally hear you. No, that's, and it's really interesting because there's such a broad amount of music that people are interested in. I mean, every color under the sun, right? Every flavor of music that you could possibly have. And it's cool that you guys are, brave enough, right? Really, it's probably just because you have a product that's capable enough to play all these different genres. And there are other companies out there that they just won't do it. When you get out of the like 1960s folk music, you're out of their comfort zone, and I've never heard those speakers play anything but that kind of stuff. As a consumer, that's not compelling to me.
Right.
That's not an experience that makes me say, okay, I'm going to buy this. It just isn't. So a couple of comments. And Double A knows me well. He says, I know what Jiles is thinking. In-wall plus active. So, that's something that I've talked about with people a lot in the past is, what's the future of home theater look like? Multi-channel, right? When you want to go in-wall, you don't want towers or bookshelves or any kind of thing touching the floor, right? You want to have a clean room that, you can just experience. Now, the challenge, obviously, with in-wall plus active means that you've got to have power in-wall somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So I think people will have to design for that, but I can.
Wall that's thick enough also to hold a speaker in it.
Sure, just assuming that you can do that, but I do think that at some point, there is a future for this, and who knows if it'll get legs or not, and be able to walk around. But when people design purpose-built rooms, it might make sense to distribute the amplifier load around the room. If you think about it, there are a lot of folks that design amplifiers, and they want that amp as close as possible to the speaker, right? Because that impacts damping factor and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So that's something.
I can see that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think also one of the reasons that we can get away with such a small enclosure that has 350 watts in it is because of where Class D has gotten.
Oh yeah.
We wouldn't be able to do that without going with Class D amplifiers, but in the last 10 years, that technology has caught up.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So I'm doing a review on a number of Class D amplifiers here in the future, and the sound coming out of those is, it becomes indistinguishable. I can't even say the word indistinguishable for me amongst that and Class A or AB. I mean, when you listen to it, it just sounds good now. It's not it's not your grandfather's Class D, I guess you would say. And like the Stark Sound AD4 320 sounds really good. I'm about to do a review of the Cherry new version from Digital Amplifier Company. So that stuff's all just, it sounds wonderful. So, and I know you guys are, which modules are you using in yours?
Ours are from a company called Hypex.
Yeah, Hypex. Yeah. No, they're one of the leaders in the market. Yeah. So those guys in Ice Power.
Yeah, we tried a bunch of different brands of them, and we ended up really the Hypex platform has been great for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And those units can get pretty small and put out a ton of juice.
Yeah, and they're efficient. So even these, like even at the show, we had it, I don't know how many hours, 9 hours of really cranking these things, and you can touch the back. They're warm, but yeah, it's Class D's come a long way.
Yeah, it's warming the sound. No, so and that's one thing that I do appreciate. I like my speakers to be detailed and transparent and non-coloring. I don't want to use my cables or my speaker or my amplifier really to try and change the sound.
Things, yeah.
And
it's really hard, right?
It really is super difficult, right?
Especially as from a consumer standpoint of you've got a lot of money invested into this, and then you want to invest more money to swap out one thing. And how do you do that? How do you listen to it and then remember in your brain what it sounded like? And in the time that it takes to go and swap out something, even just swapping out a cable takes you, if it takes you 20 seconds, then that's gone. Are you really going to hear, especially when it comes down to really high performance things where we've already raised the bar to a certain level and we're talking about now between this and this?
Yeah, I mean, you're like, you've swung the pendulum 98, 99 degrees, and now you're like trying to go from 99 to 99.1.
Yeah.
And I totally agree because, I listen to some people and, they talk about speakers that they listened to 2 years ago, and they'll be like, yeah, this speaker was this, and this, and had this kind of tonal quality and blah, blah, blah. And my audio memory is nothing like that. I can give you the general strokes of my impression that I remember. Like it sounded good and it had nice low end and blah, blah, blah. But I always question that because I just don't see how people have that type of memory. And maybe they do. And maybe I just don't have the photographic memory for audio, and maybe somebody else does. But I agree with you. It's really difficult to make those changes. And when you want to do A/B comparison, you need to be able to just flip A/B, right?
I mean, right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've even, for testing some components, I've had 2 sets of 517s set up in here, on stands, trying to set it up as best I can where the distance between them is equal, the distance from my listening spot is equal, and I'm able to literally switch like that. And even doing that, it's still between some things, it's really hard to be able to tell, okay, I can hear a difference, but what is it that I'm hearing? And which one's right? Which one is the right one? Which one is better than the other one? It gets really hard. So that is one of the benefits of being able, as from a loudspeaker designer's perspective, of being able to control a lot of the things in the chain so that we can do all that hard work and get it fine-tuned and deliver that same experience.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really cool. A question, and I'll distill this down a little bit. Any more shows for you guys this year?
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, we would love to.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, yeah. So I guess hopefully, yes, with that guy at one of them. We've got the next 2 biggest shows would be Rocky Mountain and Axpona.
Yep.
Which both are on our radar. They're both within like 2 or 3 weeks of each other. So
I know Marjorie was not very happy when Axpona changed the date to like the week after. She runs Rocky Mountain Audio Fest.
Yeah.
To the date, the week after or whatever.
Yeah. So
that's tough.
It's tough for us too, because we'd love to go to both. And maybe we can, we don't have plans solidified on everything yet, but hopefully, yes, we will see you guys at one, if not both of those.
Right on. That'll be cool. I will absolutely be at Rocky Mountain because it's just
down the road,
30 minutes down the road from me. I doubt that I'll be at Axpona this year because I'm going to replace that with Cedia, that's my show. That's the one that I have to be at, because it's all custom installer, home theater, home technology, projectors, televisions, security systems, smart speakers, all that kind of stuff.
I went to CD a couple of years ago, and I got to experience one of the best movie experiences at that show, and I think it was probably Epson that had set up like a really nice luxury home theater in this, they built a room basically at the show, and I can't remember how many channels it was like Dolby Atmos and all that.
Sure, probably 9.4.6 or something.
Yeah, and they put the theater seating that was staggered up, and all the lighting was cool. And I can remember they played Guardians of the Galaxy, one of those scenes from that movie, and I remember thinking as I'm leaving there, that was better than any movie theater I've been to. And someone could do that in their home, is cool.
That is super cool. Yeah. And that's one of my big passions, being able to mix audiophile quality audio with a compelling video experience, big screen, the CinemaScope format. And so you're not doing 16:9, but you're pulling it out like this. I love it. When you hear the music and the effects and you get the tingles and then the cool visuals, you're talking my language. So that's super cool.
Yeah, that's something that we typically, both of us usually have a set of 517s in our living room, which is where I'm sitting in mine right now. It definitely is hooked up to my TV. So
I see it.
So even, we're not always critically listening, right, with 24/192 recording of something. Sometimes
I understand.
Sometimes it's YouTube, watching a concert on YouTube, and just having that experience be closer to the real life thing than you typically would of watching something on YouTube.
That's awesome. No, and that's cool. And I'm really excited by those speakers. Super cool. So it's about halfway through the episode, and now it's time for us to move over to Content Corner. So buckle your seatbelts. Now, let's take a break and stroll down to a cozy little place I like to call Content Corner. This is where we talk about all that cool content we love to consume. And this week, we're going to talk about fatherhood. Everybody's like, what?
It was Father's Day just recently, sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. It all works. Yeah, it all works. So, I like Kevin Hart, and I like streaming because I don't have to go to a theater. And so I was checking out Netflix, and the new Kevin Hart comedy tearjerker feel good movie. It's not his typical, I don't know, slapstick kind of comedy stuff, but it's comedy, but still he's putting some feeling in there, and he's it feels like he's trying to stretch out his acting chops just a little bit. But this is the story of and I won't ruin it too much. Okay, here's the description that I got off the web that sums it all up into a sentence. A widowed new dad copes with doubts, fears, heartache, and dirty diapers as he sets out to raise his daughter on his own. Inspired by a true story. And I think that's a pretty good summary of the movie. Now, I will say that there's nothing new here, right? This is a story that we've all probably seen, told before in one way or another. So, it's not groundbreaking content, but I think they did it really well. And Kevin brought I think an additional dimension to his acting that you might not have seen before if you've just watched like his super funny haha stuff. So if you're into checking that out, that might be good. But I did rate this in the patented Home Theater Fanatics rating system. I just made it up today. So maybe I'll do this.
Made it up today, and it's already patented, man.
Dude, it's patented and it's iconic.
Let's have it.
This is the way. So on sound, I rate this 3 out of 10.
Aww.
Because it's all right. I mean, you can hear it, but there were no instances in the movie that I remember where something played and I was just like, oh man, that is really good. Listen to that Atmos effect, or listen to that music in the soundstage that it's putting out, or this is a great vocal thing, or just it didn't have that, right? Dialogue was clear. The sound for streaming was fine. But nobody's going to take this movie and say, I'm going to demo on this, right? And likewise, on the visual side, I give it a 3 of 10 too. Once you get under 3, then you get into there's something wrong here. And I might change that where it's 4 and then 3 and down represents some type of issue. But the visuals were fine, right? There were no scenes that popped visually with really out there cinematography or photography style. No effects to speak of, anything like that. So it was just a well put together and well presented movie that checked the boxes visually and audibly, but nothing there to speak of. Now, on the action scale, I give this a 0 out of 10. On the horror factor, the horror factor scale, I give it a 0 out of 10 rather. My wife gave it a 6 out of 10 on the horror factor, but for reasons unrelated, she's like, no, I did not like this movie. But on the comedy scale, I give it 6 out of 10. It was okay. It got a chuckle out of me every once in a while. On the heartstring side, I give it an 8 out of 10 though, because I did shed a tear a couple of times during the movie. So, those are the new 6 areas on the dude scale of movie goodness: sound, visuals, action, horror, comedy, and heartstrings. And maybe. I'm looking for input on this. If there are different things that I should rate or rate them in a different way, I'm interested to hear people's thoughts. But that's kind of what I've got out of here. If you average that all up, I know what. Here it is. I'll sum this all up, and then I'll tell you if you should stream it, rent it, or own it. And this one is definitely a streamer. Now,
so it's like a recommendability scale.
Yes.
Would you recommend it to a friend?
Right.
Yes,
stream it. Stream it.
But it's also the dude
scale. Yeah. Yeah. My audience is 99.96% male, I think. So I can definitely rate things on the dude scale because, how much action or the effects, that kind of stuff, I'll watch a movie that has 0 plot at all, right? And if you notice, I didn't rate on plot at all. I guess that's kind of covered in the heartstrings, horror, comedy, and action a little bit. So maybe I'll have to tweak this some, but it's definitely a streamer. Now, when I think rental, just so you know, I'm thinking premium rental. So that would be
it's going to cost you.
Yeah, that would be something you need to pay for that you're not already paying for, but allows you to have access to the film sooner than you normally would via streaming. Now, this one just went direct to streaming. There's probably a reason it went direct to streaming, but it went direct to streaming. But sometimes there'll be a movie that is playing in the theater, has a theatrical release, but I'm like, I have to see this. I have to see it now, but I'm not going to go to a movie theater. I want to watch it in my environment. So I'll rent it before you can buy it. And that's like, that's getting really high up in the scale, right? And then just beyond that is, okay, you have to own this movie. This is something that you're going to demo on, or you might want to watch again in the future. And this one doesn't rise to that level. It's a solid movie, and if you like the genre, or if you like Kevin Hart, or there's something else that calls to you, then I would say go for it. But definitely stream it. I don't think anybody's going to be buying this on disc. I think maybe we're there now, but sometime in the future, these movies will never make it to physical media. They just they won't ever make it. In the past, if it was a bad movie, it was direct to disc, meaning it didn't have a theatrical release.
And then it went straight to the Walmart bargain bin that you see people diving into.
Yeah, you're digging through and you're all like, man, there's boogers and all kinds of stuff in there.
Good in there.
I don't want to dumpster dive for a movie. But yeah, now it'll be just straight to streaming. And if they're really bad, they show up like on Hulu first or something. not even on Netflix or Disney. Straight to Hulu. Gosh, there's a Hulu executive out there. I'm never going on this show. He will never have anybody on Home Theater Fanatics.
Yeah, I was
Just
laughing
burnt
at
that
you,
bridge.
I was laughing at you and then what you were. Yeah,
That's right. So I'm so comedic that I can elicit that response from people, Hulu. And sorry, I took a shot at you at your expense. I apologize. I would love to have you on the show one day, and I fully support. And I actually pay you guys money every month. So there you go.
There you go.
And I do. I pay everybody. Man, it's just I thought, okay, I'm going to get rid of cable. So I'm not paying Comcast, but now like pay 87 other people.
Just so everybody knows, he's not paying us.
No. They actually paid me to bring that. One day, I hope that happens. I hope people are like, we want to get on your show and we'll give you $1,000 if you let us have a slot. Just so you know, I would be so in for that. I'm down. If anybody wants to give me money to come on this show, I don't care who you are. You can be on this show. I will make a video just for you.
That's it. Where do I hit the X? Where's that red X at?
Yeah. Oh, but so that's that was what I watched, and in full disclosure, I had to watch this movie in 2 sittings.
What?
Yeah, no, I guess it was in 2 different settings as well. So I watched half of it on my UST ultra short throw projector in my living room, and then I stopped, and then I watched the second half of it, and don't tell anybody, on an iPad.
Oh. So you weren't glued to the screen then. You were able to pause it.
I know. Oh, and just if I could just walk 1 floor down, and I've got a 9.4.4 home theater, full blown projection, big screen, anamorphic lens, and everything. No, it just wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening.
Just for the electric bill on that system. Yeah, you weren't going to do it.
You're right. See, I was being eco-friendly. Is that it? Eco-friendly, economically friendly to myself and eco-friendly to the rest of the world. So now let's flip this around to you guys. Anything that you've seen, heard, or even read recently that you had put out there as something folks might want to check out? Because I didn't give anyone good recommendations of stuff to watch today, so maybe you can save us. Anything? Or are you guys just working too hard all the time?
Yeah, who has time for that?
I know. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's where we're at.
All right. Hold on. I've got a sound for this. Let me see if I can. Where's that? Here we go. You hear it? No. That's it.
Yeah.
Now you need some violin playing,
I can
crickets.
Crickets, okay. I got that one. I can do a harp. I can't do a violin.
That's us right there.
Yeah, we're entering a magical world of something. All right, so that's the end of Content Corner. So I need segue music instead of saying that's the end. I can play some cool music and it'll
you
segue.
had some good stuff at the intro.
Yeah, see, I'll work on that. I need to come up with another intro. So now, though, we're going to move into the third segment of our show, and this is the tech question of the week. This is where I challenge our guest to answer a question that they probably have zero experience with. And the question for you guys, the tech question of the week is, what are active speakers, and why would anybody want them? I know it's out there for you guys, but I think it would be good to really tell people kind of granularly what an active speaker is, because I'm sure there's somebody out there like, what, it does exercise or something? It moves around a lot, So what is an active speaker, and why would somebody want one?
Well, ours definitely does move around a lot.
It indeed does that.
But
moves a lot of air.
It moves a lot of air.
Yeah, I would say
why would
you not want an active speaker?
Well, let's start with the definition, man. I know you're like, everybody wants one, but let's tell people what it is.
Yeah, so active speaker, like we mentioned before, we've got amplifiers built inside of.
Oh, he's gone. He's out. He's like, I'm not answering that question.
Man, oh man. Well, yeah, what we have is active speakers. Everything's built in. Amplifiers, DAC, preamp.
It's all there.
It's all there. Instead of a passive speaker where you plug your speaker wires from your stereo or amp into it.
You get a sound bite for that, but
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna stop. We're gonna
Rewind.
rewind, and I'm starting this over because everybody knows I cut this out into a separate video. So we're gonna start over. So
All right.
the tech question of the week: what is an active speaker, and why would somebody want one?
And why is this so funny?
Everybody's like, "What's going on?"
all right, take two.
Take two.
Take two.
All right. So I'll try and do this again without my phone killing the app that's running the video. So an active speaker is what we have behind us, which is not just an empty speaker enclosure. It has amplifiers built inside. So where you would typically have a separate amplifier that's powering your speakers, and your speakers are just connected with a speaker cable or, speaker wire to that amplifier. These are actually plugged into the wall. So we're grabbing power, and then we're sending that audio signal right into the speakers, and it's getting amplified right there. Basically, in our speakers, we have everything except for the source. So whether we're sending it music from a digital input from a music streamer, or like I've got a turntable sitting up there, I could switch over to that, or like we mentioned before, also the TV, all those different music sources, doesn't matter. Once that signal gets into the speaker, then everything is handled inside there. We don't have any other equipment that we have to integrate with. We've got the amplifier, preamp, DAC, all of that stuff is built inside of the speaker system.
That's cool. And then from a source point of view, what all can you feed there? So you can do RCA, XLR. What all does it do?
Yeah, so for analog, we've got balanced and unbalanced, so RCA and XLR connections. And then for digital, we've got digital coax, we've got optical, and an AES connection.
Oh, cool. Right on.
That you could, if you have multiple sources, like I've got here, I've got them all connected all at the same time. And the speakers will actually auto-detect the active signal. So right now they're turned off because there's nothing playing. But if I, pulled up my phone and start the streamer, or if I turn the TV on, or I start a record on the turntable, they'll sense that signal and lock onto that input.
Oh, that's nifty. So you can kind of leave them in an idle state, and you don't have to select source. It'll just auto sense and then go to town.
Yep.
That's really cool.
It's great because, like we mentioned before, we're really into the music. That's what we're into, and the speaker that we listen to most is the one that's the most convenient. Typically, it just so happens that it's our hi-fi system is what's most convenient. So,
right,
whether it's background music, or while we're eating dinner, or have people over, or if we're sitting down to actually critically listen to something, it's just a matter of turning that source on, and the speaker kicks on, and we're off and running.
Right on. So, why would someone choose to go with an active speaker? Like you guys build, as opposed to a traditional stack of technology with a bunch of different pieces, and then at the end of that chain a set of passive speakers. So what would drive one person to go the active route?
I think it's a good question that there's probably multiple answers to. I could tell you that the answer for us was that really lofty goal of creating that musical experience in our room. That if the best way to do that is active, so that we can get that as close to flat frequency response as possible, and reproduce that the way it was intended. So that was our goal. I think there's other, another big one would be if someone doesn't want to have to go through the process of the component synergy and getting the right components. Yeah, the simplicity of it is very different than the old way of doing it, of matching up everything and getting everything to sound just right. And like you mentioned before too, of swapping out one thing here or there, and how is it coloring the sound, or how is it affecting it, and is it actually getting better or getting worse? Does it sound better to me? Is it really what it's supposed to sound like? It gets really hard. So we've done all the hard work for you. If you're really after the best musical experience of reproducing that music the way it was intended, then it's really a tough sell to say you should do passive over active.
Awesome. No, I think that's a great explanation. And I have a lot of applications even here in my home where active is absolutely the right way for me to go. And if you have people out there that want to have a really, really high level of quality of audio, but might not have the space or maybe the experience or even just the desire to try and figure out how to put all these components together, this type of design really makes it straightforward to go straight to a good experience. So I think that's awesome. Super cool.
Well, I think you kind of undercut it a little bit. You said a good experience.
Oh, I apologize. An outstanding superlative, life-changing, earth-moving, heart-breaking, if you can't continue to have that same experience all the time experience.
Yeah, that's more like it.
Right on. Right on. Oh, okay. So thanks for answering the tech question of the week. I think that's an awesome answer. And for all you folks out there that are considering active speakers, hopefully that helps you with your thought process and your decision making around that. And if you're looking for a pair, there's a link down below in the notes for this video, and you can click and get right to the website and check these out. A couple other people jumped on that I want to say hi to. My buddies over at Aperion Audio. One of your competitors, kind of, they have powered speakers too, but they're not all in on the powered. Good guys, good folks, make a good product. Kevin S. So he's in Southern California. If you want subwoofers, this is the dude to talk to. He runs GSG Audio with him and two of his partners, and it's really, really, really good stuff. Nice. I have a vote of support from Dallas Don. He likes the way that I've distilled the essence of a movie down to the core components of goodness that you need to know about. And we have someone here to commiserate with you, Jonathan. Dalamandrum, I guess maybe is how you say it. The iPad Life. iOS mobile device. So it's all good. All right. So now we're going to shift gears down into low. This is where we slow things down and we wrap up the episode. So just a few cleanup items here. So upcoming projects for Home Theater Fanatics. I've got an Atlantic Technology 8600 Series 5.1 video that is edited and it's ready to roll. I just need to upload and fine tune just a little bit, and that'll be coming out. So you can check out the new passive speakers from Atlantic Technology and what I thought about that. The subwoofer was active though, because it's got that in there, and it was a great sounding set of speakers, and you'll see that in the video. Also finishing up the Harbottle Audio M18X box build and review. I'm actually going to have Cody on the phone with me Saturday, and we're going to do a little tuning on that 18-inch subwoofer in the theater. So I'm excited for that. The stain that I did on the box turned out pretty well. I don't know how you guys make your stuff look as good as you do. I could never make anything look that good, no matter. I can't. I don't have that capability. I don't. So hats off to you guys.
I'll send you our recipe.
Man, I mean, there's some secret sauce in there. I mean, look, maybe we can talk about it one day, because man, I don't have the skills to pay the bills when it comes to finishing that well. I mean, it's passable, right? And people look at it and they be like, oh, it looks like somebody did that in their spare time. I'm like, they did. But that video will be coming out shortly as well. So, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your time. Thank you for telling your story. Yeah, I know I've really enjoyed it. And everybody out there, please take a moment, go to their webpage, look at the products, find these guys on Instagram, follow the channel so you can be, appraised of what's coming out, what's new, find out what shows are going to be out, because I really recommend that you go listen to these, because if you've not heard a high-end set of powered speakers, I mean, you're missing out. And these towers are going to be amazing when they come out, and the bookshelves are already just mind-blowing. The bass extension on these things is just absolutely crazy. And I was not prepared. I know there's a movie You Are Not Prepared. I was not prepared. So like I said, super, super impressed. And again, thanks to you guys. And then for the viewers, as always, I know you guys can choose to spend your time with somebody else. I'm super humbled that you'll spend your time with me and the guests that I have. So thank you for that. And I think that's it. I think we'll close it up. Thanks, guys. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah. See ya.
Yeah. And as I always say, see you guys in that next video.
Bye-bye now.